You agree that this is recorded, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So,
First
w-
question. Shoot.
well, thank you again for your availability.
No
And
problem.
well, the first question is related to the Markio Sustainability Seal.
Hmm.
How is the local community involved in the certification process, and what benefits do residents receive?
On the side of the destinations, of the DMOs, they are involved because they should have a so-called sustainability team that's in the management part of the four areas that are covered by our program, which are the same areas as GSTC, because our standard is GSTC recognized. So in the management, it says that you have to set up a sort of steering committee where all the local population and the different stakeholders should be involved, not only the accommodation businesses, but also people that have nothing to do, generally speaking, with tourism, like our Association of Mountaineers, etc. And they should meet regularly and should be updated and should be able to bring their input to the table. So that's one thing, and the whole program was started because, in the opinions of actually, if it's up to facts, a minority of people in South Tyrol, but the ones that are not directly profiting from tourism, they have a sense of over tourism.
Yes, I
But
see.
and this minority is crying out loud, and they're much louder than the ones pro tourism. So that's why we have to face this fact, but we don't have an over-tourism problem, in my opinion, but we have an overcrowding problem in 3 to 4 months during summertime, especially in the Dolomites, which are UNESCO World Heritage, where we now face the problem that a lot of tourists are coming from countries where we even don't do any advertising, like Asian
Mhm.
countries or countries from the Middle East or Israel or the States. And of course, this creates more problems with the locals because they don't know how to behave. So
I
that's one
understand.
thing. That's one thing that we have to educate them, because for us, for example, it's normal that you don't put your trash around in the mountains, but in some countries you just throw it out of the window while you're passing by. So a lot of what can you say, work to educate people. And if you do this, for example, Seiser Alm, they're certified at the highest level. They did a poster campaign in 3 languages at all the bus stations in the destination where the guests wait, but also the locals wait for the bus. So if they see, for example, those posters where you say don't litter, don't put your trash around in nature, especially not in a nature park, don't go and hug cows because they are animals. And there were situations not here in South Europe, but in the northern parts of Tyrol in Austria where people got killed by cows because they had calves and they wanted to protect them. So when they see these posters that are nicely made with cartoons in 3 languages, then the guests get the message, but also the locals see that tourism is doing something against these phenomena. And that's how you can communicate also to the local population, or you do it, and that's something that we highly recommend because the whole program is about destination transformation with a stronger focus on the local inhabitants. So they should use all possible means, and that's something that's in the program, and it's written in the criteria and in our indicators that they should have a transparent communication towards the locals. So via their webpage or by, for example, and that's also something that Saisa Alm does quite well. Saisa Alm Alpe di Siusi in Italian. They have a local newspaper. My parents live there, so they have the residents there in this area. And they have this local newspaper or magazine that comes out once a week that everybody reads. And they have a fixed page there where they're showing what they're doing. So also by this, every local who's able to read gets the message what they're doing and why. So there's still a lot of sensibilization and it's very difficult. I have to admit there's still a long way to go, because if someone has a negative perception about something, then it takes a long time to change that. And we also have to say, at least from my point of view, that the local journalists here in South Tyrol, especially the ones from the uh, public radio and TV stations, from the RAI Radio Italiana, but the German local branch of that national statal television and radio, they have a very negative attitude towards tourism. So all the facts are interpreted in a negative way, in my opinion, and that keeps on boosting people's negative opinion about tourism. So that is a problem, and that is why we have two people here at IDM dedicated to a project called Habitat Management, where it's all about how can we improve this and how can we improve also the communication towards the general public and to the ones that are not involved in tourism, like people that are employed by the local government, where we have a lot of public dependents, or people working for the local administration, so to say, or people working in I don't know, hospitals, or people working in the industry that we only have in Bolzano, but still is quite big, etc., etc. Because most of the people that work as in handicrafts, for example, or work as how can you say, as carpenters, etc., they obviously know that they benefit from tourism, because if the hotels have to be rebuilt constantly, that's where they get the work. And I, as a private person, find it difficult to find someone doing the work at my home, because they all work for the hotels, and it's a much bigger business for them than doing something for a smaller private business like mine. And obviously also commerce knows that they profit a lot, because without the tourists, without these 37 million overnight stays that we had in 2024, there would be a lot less people shopping around. And it's impulse buying by those people, because, as you know, the biggest competitor to the customary shops, to the outlets, basically, is the online shopping. So I guess much more locals do online shopping here in South Tyrol than guests do online shopping when they're here as guests. They go to the real shops. So, but that's also a lot of facts that, in my opinion, have to be communicated much better still. But the whole program is that one of the main goals is to do better, to communicate better, and to have actually locals participating. One example, we do climate adaptation workshops, and every destination that is in the program and wants to get the certification has to come up with a climate adaptation plan. And in EPAN, they were audited only a few days ago. We also invited, because I always say we are doing this to preserve what we have for the next generation. And then I tell them, but you have to invite the next generation, because we're talking about them. So it would be good if the young people would have a saying in that. And so we invited somebody from the youth center there to participate at this workshop about the climate adaptation plan. And in the beginning, where everybody introduced herself or himself, she said, yeah, I'm from this youth organization, and actually I don't know what I'm doing here. And at the end of the workshop, after 4 or 5 hours, she said, oh, it was great that I was here, and now I know why I was here. So we're thinking about participation, but still it's a long way to go, and we can do better.
It's essential. Well, thank you because I think that you have answered at least at the half of the interview only with this answer. And as I've have understand in a properly way, so you are saying that local journalists are not agree with not with your strategies to make a change, but with tourism in general. I think, but I think that perhaps in this work that you have, they are very compromised or not. They are not very confident at the moment.
That's true. I think they are somehow not very confident. Some of them, I believe, are, as you said, compromised, which is a strong word, but some of them are. But that's also due to the landscape of the few different means of communication and newspapers, magazines, and media that we have here locally in South Tyrol. Because the biggest part of them, and that's something very specific in South Tyrol, are owned by one group, which is the Atesia Group. And the head of the Atesia Group is also the president of a local chamber of commerce. So we are owned by 60% by the local government, 40% by the Chamber of Commerce. So in the media that belong to the Atesia Group, to the head of the Chamber of Commerce, they are all obviously pro tourism because they are pro economy.
Yeah.
So that's why I
understand.
believe that the ones that are not part of this group are against it. That's my personal opinion as Hannes. So in order that there's a counterweight, so that there's a balance, that's my opinion. But I know personally some journalists because I go hiking with them that are always against tourism. And every time that I meet them, I tell them, well, I think that wasn't correct the way you reported it. Sometimes they make awful mistakes where I think as a journalist, one thing that you should do is to do your research properly and don't rely on artificial intelligence only. Because some new data came out, and it's true that the region of South Tyrol, which in Italy is called officially the province of Bolzano, the province, the whole thing where 520,000 people live, is the third highest in Italy if it's up to tourism intensity. That means arrivals related to the people living here, the province. But they got it wrong. Central, the central message that came from this Italian, how can you say, we have this, don't know the name now, but there is a provider of news that all journalists can use and adapt and personalize. And they didn't understand that it was about this news was about the whole province and not about Bolzano as a city, because the same is the name. So they put out the news that Bolzano has the third highest tourism intensity in Italy. And I was like, I live here. Okay, there's a Christmas market. We have a lot of people, but I know because I work in tourism that Bolzano has not so many beds, not so many hotels, much more in Merano and in Brixen. And I was wondering, where do they get this news from? And then I figured out that they misread the data and said it was about the city and not about the whole province. And this again is a thing that shows, if I'm my mom and I hear this, then I get a really, really negative impact because I think, oh, Bolzano, where I live, it's so really bad. Yeah, but it was wrong interpretation of facts. So it was a wrong message. So, and this unfortunately happens quite often. And then people think, well, these bad guys in tourism, they do so, it's too much, and they cannot, they are not able to interpret the data. For example, and now they don't do it anymore, but we have ASTAT, which is a local statistics organ that put out the data also in tourism about the overnight stays and how many people and about the arrivals, etc. The head of this governmental, you can say local, it's part of the local government, doesn't know, but now he knows it, that the data they are giving out can't be correct at the end of the month. You have to wait at least 2 months because many, how can you say, hotels upload their data later.
Mm-hmm.
So they came up with the news in the summertime that
Yes,
tourism is less in summer, that less people are coming.
this is
Because
real.
no,
Ah.
because they didn't know or didn't want to know, and now our CEO knows it, and he's talking to the guy that they should get the figures right and wait until they blow out this message, because of course, few months later, in September, end of September, mid-October, the news came out by the same ASTAT, by the same statistics office, that it was another record summer in tourism. So if I'm my mom again, and I hear in the radio somebody talking about tourism, telling me in, I don't know when it was, end of July, that there are less people coming, that there is a minus, and then 2 months later, there's a big plus. My opinion is not that this guy from Astat is a moron. I'm sorry about this term, but that the guys in tourism don't get the facts and data right. It's always the guys in tourism. So this is a real
I
problem.
understand.
And that's why our CEO now and really our management talked with them to tell people the data when they are complete and not earlier, because otherwise you're making up a lot of confusion, and it's an even bigger
Absolutely.
impact. It's an even bigger impact on the perception of tourism in our country. Where not everything is gold, we have this problem. We are number 3 now. We surpassed the Croatian Adria coast. We're number 3 in Europe when it comes to tourism intensity. Only Crete and the Ionian Islands are before us. But also there, you have to look at the data in a proper way, because they only have summer tourism. We also have, as you can see, a healthy winter tourism. So for them, it's even worse. And also for the Adriatic Croatian coast. So there's always you have to look at the data and interpret it in a proper way also. Otherwise it could be really misleading, and you could use it to point the finger one more time against tourism. So that's a little bit the problem that we are facing, which I think is common in many places where they have a lot of people staying. And for example, also Garda Lake, there was this news that there are less people coming to the Lake Garda, which is the most popular lake and the biggest lake in Italy. And it's very close. I mean, from Bavaria in Germany, you only have to drive 4 hours to this lake. So they come also for the weekend. And lots of Germans have houses there, bought second houses and everything. And also there at the end of the summer, it was a big plus and not a minus. So the same thing. And here we have the problem that the Lake Garda in the European statistics doesn't show up as one tourism region, because it's in the middle of 3 provinces. You have Trento in the north, Verona in the south east, and Brescia in the southwest. So it's 3 different provinces and statistic regions. And now I only found out some data about the whole area of the Lake Garda, and it has 6 times the bigger tourism intensity as South Tyrol, and we are number 3 in Italy, because it's only about the provinces. But if you take this particular lake and counting the smaller cities and people living there around it, it's 6 times worse in this case than South Tyrol. So it's always, you have to know
Well,
a lot to figure
yes,
out where you are.
it's very difficult.
It's
And
very difficult.
I remember having read this last summer,
Hmm.
an international news about some cuts in the access in the entry into Dolomites for, I don't know, but I think that because little entrepreneurs or literal people that have touristic houses or this kind of, sorry, I don't remember
No,
the
no, no, no
name now in
problem.
English.
Hmm.
To sum up, I have read a new last summer about the prohibition of access to the way to Trecime di Lavaredo, I think,
Hmm.
specifically because the touristic
Yep,
well,
that's
there
true.
are a lot of people, and it's a way to informally to cut this over tourism
Yep.
in
So
summer.
that's
So
yeah, that's hotspot management, and
yes.
it first started with the Lago di Braies,
Hmm.
where IDM colleagues of mine came up with the whole system of how to limit the access,
Uh-huh.
especially for cars. But obviously, we are doing the work, but then otherwise others get the medals. So it
Yeah,
was then
yeah,
the
yeah.
locals there getting
I
the medals.
understand.
And now it's
Yes,
the same with Trecime di Lavaredo and also other hotspots. It's basically hotspot management that we have to do mostly in the Dolomites. So also in my opinion, my personal opinion, Dolomites UNESCO World Heritage, we should take this much more seriously.
absolutely.
It was basically a marketing thing. And since we have this, it got worse and worse because we know that there's a lot of people specifically traveling to UNESCO World Heritage sites. So they go to the Grand Canyon because it's a World Heritage site. They go to Angkor Wat because it's a World Heritage site. They go to the Dolomites because it's a World Heritage site. So people from all over the world, from countries where we don't do any advertising. So this is a thing, but it's one of our top priorities, this hotspot management. But then again, and we have now a list of hotspots that we don't want to officially communicate and where we don't want to show the pictures in the official South Tirolian advertising anymore. The problem is that we can recommend only our local partners and tourism organizations to do the same. But if then, let's say, one of them is so stupid that they still want to use the Trecime de Lavaredo, the famous picture, we cannot tell them not to do it. There has to be somebody must make a law prohibiting this, a local law, which could be done because we have the autonomy in Italy to do so, but which would never be done because you lose votes. So we can only uh, do a lot of sensibilization towards our partners and then the hotels. Please don't use this. But it's very difficult because, for example,
Yeah.
we also have the people here in IDM working with the consortiums in the agricultural sector. So we
Hmm.
also do some. We set up the booths for the fairs for the South Tyrolean Wine Consortium. And when they go to UK, they still use a picture of the Trecime di Lavaredo. And we tell them, don't do it because it's a hotspot and there's no wine growing there. So in our opinion, it's also misleading. You could use the mountain behind me in autumn because on the bottom of this mountain, there are vineyards and you have wine growing. But the other one, there's no wine. So in my opinion, somebody could sue you because you're suggesting something that it's not. No wine is growing there, but they need it
Yeah.
because they say they're so well known. So, and we are so small as a wine producing area that in the UK they have to look at this, they have to locate us somehow. And that's why we still want to use this picture. So the wine consortium actually at the moment is met at IDM because we tell them,
Hmm.
please don't do it, but they still want to do it. I mean, the wine guys are, I worked for them a short while. They are very particular. It's very difficult to work with them.
Yeah, I can see.
It's very difficult, but you know, there's very desensibility. And now also we will have a talk with film funding because they are part of IDM and they should also, in my opinion, talk to the location scouts that they don't show international productions or hotspots anymore. And we had a case where they did a Netflix series called Couronne, which they shot at Reschensee, Lake Resia, where you have this church coming out of the water. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. And we said that as IDM, no, we don't give any money to film these series, this TV show. But then what happened? That the local tourism organizations, they wanted it, and they gave the Netflix producers the money. You know, so what can you do? Sometimes, I mean, you can only tell people that it's no good, but then there's locals that do it, and sometimes you have hotels or hotel chains that have so much money that they can do their own advertising. So we don't do officially advertising in America, but we don't have any clue if a Falkensteiner group or someone with a big budget is advertising South Tyrol and the Dolomites in the States. A friend of mine sent me a video where they were going to Azerbaijan. They were sitting in the plane, and then the small
Mhm.
monitors in front of them, they showed all this a video of South Tyrol with all the South Tyrolean hotspots. Nobody knows who made this video. It was not us, and why it is there,
No.
and who paid for this, and what's the reason why? Why
Wow.
do I see South Tyrolean hotspots, very beautiful landscapes, but South Tyrol on a plane on the way to Azerbaijan? I mean, somebody must have paid for it because otherwise, I mean, the Azerbaijans would be stupid because if I fly to Azerbaijan, I want to see the nice spots of Azerbaijan to be inspired and not South
Really.
Tyrol. So,
Wow.
all these weird things happen. And some of these things are really weird because another hotspot is, for example, Seceda, where there was a problem this summer in Grünwald Gardena, Dolomites again, where this
See?
picture went around with all the people lining up to go to this particular spot where you can take a picture of the mountains and where it goes steep down. And they were prepared for that. They paid 4 rangers, they call them rangers, out of their pockets. The tourism did that to sensi- for sensibilization again, that people stay on the path, that they don't cross the meadows because they are property of a farmer and he has difficulties then in cutting the grass and making the hay and everything. But they got overrun anyhow, and they were thinking about it, and they were prepared. So it's really difficult, especially with these guests that we don't address directly. We had a problem 2 weeks ago. I mean, there's not that much snow, but there still is snow. And you cannot go on the mountain that you see behind me. On a similar mountain, a very famous one, they had to take down some people with a helicopter because they tried to climb up there in the middle of winter with sneakers on, you know? And this is something that is very, very bad because this then again is something where my mom, as an average South Tyrolean that has nothing to do with tourism, gets a
Mhm.
negative perception because he said, but now we have these stupid tourists that they wanted here, and I have to pay for the helicopter that went there to save them, which is also not true because in this case they have to pay for the helicopter themselves. But it's a fact that if they don't pay, and many of them don't pay,
I
that
can imagine.
yeah, they get a few letters, but they're not going to be sued for not paying the helicopter when, I mean, try to sue somebody from Asia that or from the States that didn't pay a helicopter service in South Tyrol. It's undoable.
But perhaps
So
they have any insurance
yeah,
or
many of them
okay,
have a
okay.
private insurance.
Yes.
Most of them have a private insurance, not all of them. So that's
Yeah.
another good point because that's, for example, why you have private clinics that opened up special smaller clinics very close to the main ski resorts because obviously with the increasing skiers and everybody says skiing is becoming less and less and less, it's definitely not
Yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah.
Every year it's more and
My
more.
God.
Every year it's more and more. It always was a luxury sport because people say, yeah, but everybody should be allowed to, and in the past it was different. No, it was not different. It was always a luxury sport, always. And these people have the assurance, and when they hurt themselves, they get treated by the best private clinics that make a lot of money out of these
Yeah.
insured guests. So that's another thing. But then again, people think, oh, there have been so many people rescued, and these people then we have to pay with our taxes for the public, I don't know, medicine supply or
Yes.
whatever rescue supply that they get, which is not true. Because most of them, here I don't have facts and figures, but most of them, as they tell me from these Brixana clinics, etc., pay through their private
Private.
insurance that they have. Mhm.
Wow. It's very interesting, this point. The perception of local people that they have their reasons because they see people that came to the mountains, moreover, without equipment, only to take a photo sometimes. And well, finally, this is the kind of the quality of tourism that we have.
Yeah, yeah.
Expecting,
But we don't
it's
want
a,
this. We
yeah, I
actually,
know.
we,
Yes,
we
you
don't
are
want this.
working
We
before
don't want
this.
this. And it's totally different in Switzerland, for example. My colleagues told me they went to Jungfraujoch, which is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, where they are so happy that they can carry up a lot of people from India, Asia, the rest of Asia, etc., that pay a lot of money just to go on top of that mountain and then to go down, and that they want to have them also in the future. But we don't want that. We don't want that
Yeah,
because it's only how can you say, those day tourists, they don't generate any added value. So that's, for example, why Dolomites Val Gardena says we don't want these daily tourists. Of course, then you create also a negative perception again among other South Tyroleans, because I from Bolzano then feel okay, but in Val Gardena, which is very beautiful, one of the nicest places in my opinion in South Tyrol, they also
okay.
don't want me as a daily tourist because I don't have that much money. I go there mostly by car, go for a hike, and eat the sandwiches that I brought along out of my backpack. So I don't generate any value for them. They don't want me in the first place. And then again, those bad
I
guys in
see.
tourism in Val Gardena, they don't want me as another local South Tyrolean. So it's really
Yeah, you
difficult.
have a great challenge to afford
Yep.
different
It's
focus
yeah,
of
it's a big
problems.
challenge. It's a
Yeah,
real
yeah, I
big
know it.
challenge, a real big challenge. And also when I go hiking once a week with some friend of mine's, and they have all been to university and work in high positions, they are totally, some of them, I mean, one is a lawyer and the other one is working for the public services. So those two don't have anything to do with tourism and they are against it. But even if I bring up the arguments, I have the impression that also very smart people simply don't want to hear them. So it's very difficult to solve a problem that is an emotional problem through rational argumentation, in my opinion.
I
It's
know
very
it.
difficult
Very
because I can give
difficult.
them all the figures. Like also my mom or other people, I can give them a lot of figures, but if they don't want to hear them, then you won't make any difference. And I mean, and the problem is that that's how the world is running today. Because you see it in America with Trump. Facts and figures don't count anymore. You can tell people what they want to hear. You can really lie directly. If you do it in a charismatic way, people believe you. But we don't want to do this. We
I
want to
said,
we want to be clear. We don't want to have any greenwashing. We want to have facts clear. It's a problem, okay, but it's also we're working on different levels on solutions. So
very
it's difficult.
interesting. It's very difficult, but well, beyond that difficulties, I'm absolutely sure that there are some strategies that are working.
Hmm.
So please, some good news about the results in the good way. What strategies have you realized that really works and you have
Hotspot
results now?
management, hotspot management.
Yes.
That you can look up Lago di Braies. I think now the website is down because this hotspot management only works or is up only when it's high season because otherwise there's no problem. You can go there now and there's nobody. and it's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
But so hotspot management is definitely an issue. Then what is also an issue where we are very strong, I think, is public transport. And there again, uh, it's very good because it's strategic to reduce the CO2 imprint. So we have campaigns that we launched together, especially for the German market, which is our biggest market, before the home market even, that people should come by train to South Tyrol. And we have a collaboration with Deutsche Bahn, where they pay basically half of the ads, and to tell them, please come, 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 come. Problem is the Deutsche Bahn is not good. The product is a problem. Italy's Frecce, the Italian trains are now much better, much more reliable than the German ones. But we have now, as a head of Deutsche Bahn, a South Tyrolean lady, which actually went to school with me. And she now has a big task to fix everything. Her name is Evelyn Palla. You can look her up.
Uh-huh. Okay, I'll do it.
But that's a problem. But once they are here, we have very efficient public means of transport, buses and local trains. And 90% of the accommodation businesses have now the South Tyrolean Guest Pass, and with that, it's included in the price of the room, but it's not free. But you don't have to pay extra for it like you have to do in Vienna or in where they have cards. So actually, when you come by car, please leave it as a guest in the hotel parking lot and travel around by public means of transport. This is the strategy. Thing is, again, negative impact on the population because all the people think the tourists get something for free, they travel for free, and we as locals have to pay.
This is not real.
This is not real because
But they,
the hotel, and you can argue it's not enough, but it's a fact that for every night and every person, even if they don't use this guest pass, the hotel owner pays around 70 cents, I think, per night per person. So this creates 20 million euros a year that help to finance public means of transport. So now you can say 70 is not enough. Make it 2 euros, I don't know, per person. Then the hotel would go, why are you totally crazy? Why do I have to pay for this? But it's another fact that now, if you use the public means of transport in South Tyrol, because you have to commute to Bolzano, for example, from outside,
Mhm.
there is a new pass for the locals, so that for 250 euros per year, and that's one of the lowest, if not the lowest in the Alps, if not in the whole Europe, you can use them as many times as you like, all public means of transport. And the thing is, for our children, we only pay 20 euros per year, and they can use all
Wow,
of them. 20 euros, that's nothing. A friend of
it's
mine in Milan
nothing.
pays around 500, 600 euros per child per year. So that's already nothing. Also for seniors over 70 or over 64, it's only 20 euros, also nothing. So that's why you have sometimes empty buses driving to a distant valley where there's only one older farmer lady sitting in there, you know, so that people don't see. They only see the overcrowded buses because there's a lot of tourists, which
Yes.
sometimes is true. But then again, uh, if you, in my case, I go to work by I can walk to work, so I don't need this. But if I had to commute to Brixen, as I did for several years, I can now buy this card for 250 euros as a local. I can deduct the 40 euros of my children that I pay. So it would
Mhm.
cost me only 210 euros for the whole year. That
Wow.
is nothing. And
Nothing,
still,
absolutely.
that is nothing. And experts, even from the Öko Institute, which are the green ones, say that this is really, really good. But the average person is still against tourism and saying, well, we should get everything for free as the tourists get it. So you see, we have a strategy, but then again, it's very difficult. The spillover, the good spillover in this case, to your local average person. And I also tell them, in the past times, and then I think I have to Oh, you can ask me a last question because I have to go to prepare for another meeting then. But from here to where my parents live in Seis am Schlerns, usually it's like 40 minutes bus drive. Till 2 years ago, there was a bus leaving every half an hour. Now
Wow.
it's every 15 minutes. So if I miss a bus, it's like waiting for the next subway in a bigger city like Barcelona. It will come and I can take it up. And then I ask my friends that sometimes say that the buses are overcrowded. Okay, and then I tell them, but do you really think that only because of you 2,000 people that live up there would be a bus every 15 minutes? I think it's because there are also some tourists taking it, because otherwise you wouldn't have that frequency. Yeah, but the bus is overcrowded. The bus is overcrowded. Shut up. That's my opinion.
Wait.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
And what you can do, and this is a problem that you can solve, because if there is really not enough space in 1 month, because we're talking about 1 month in summer, because there are too many people that want to go up there, well, then your tourism organization can make it happen that there is even a higher frequency in these months. They just have to pay for it, you know? And this is what happened. Because they
Yeah,
also
yeah.
don't realize that sometimes it's the tourism organization also paying for the public means of transport, especially for the ski buses that are for free then for everybody. It's tourism paying for that. And there's another great big project because you were talking about or asking about what we're doing strategically. Um, One big thing will be we have Alps Green, which is the local provider of electric car sharing.
I
And
know it.
this will be, in my opinion, now a big game changer because the app is much easier now than it was 2 years ago to use. So even my dad could use it, to be honest, and he's 82. And they're rolling out now a project for accommodation businesses where the hotel can basically rent a car, an electrical car, and share it, the use of it between
Mhm.
the guests and the local employees.
Interesting.
So,
Wow.
and it can even be branded with your hotel logo. So this could really be a big game changer for these hotels, and we have lots of them because we have so many small valleys with hotels and farmers everywhere, for the ones where the next bus station is quite far away. So, and I think this is also strategically important, and they have our sustain. And we have this online community every 3 months where we present projects to everybody who's interested. And they were one of them presenting this in the last one we did 2 months ago, where we had around over 60 people online from the hotellerie, but also destination managers um, seeing this presentation. So, and that's a lot of sensibilization because then if the hotels start thinking about this and using it more and more, and if the destination manager writes to his hotels that are part of his area, well, did you know about this possibility? I think it's great. Look into it. Then it starts getting used more and more, and that's really great to put our CO2 carbon footprint down.
Mhm. Yeah, very interesting, this kind of initiatives too.
Mm.
I didn't know it. And
But this is recent.
yeah, yeah.
This is only
No.
since 2 months that they started this rollout.
Uh-huh.
They had a
Very
test.
recent.
They had a test with some hotels like Steinecker Hof, and it works perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have a video to show you how simple it is to recharge the car and how to book it via the app. And I did it myself because also we here in EDM we changed the cars from, even if it's mostly electrical cars, we changed them from owned electrical cars to this car sharing electrical cars because it's less cost for our company, and so we can also try it and use it the way that everybody can use it.
I see. It's a good option and a good strategy too.
Mhm.
And well, to finish, because I think that
Yes.
you have a work only the last, and I think most interesting for me at this point with all this information, um, related to applicability to other mountain destinations, like, for example, one very near from me in Spain, that is Gredos, is a protected natural area. Which strategies do you think that could be applicable to other less developed mountain destinations, such as the Sierra de Gredos here in the center of Spain? That's
It's a very difficult question because I don't know
I
the
know it.
destination. So first thing, what I would do is do a very deep analysis about the destination, what is going well, what is going not so good, how things are perceived by the local community, where are the problems. So once that is done, and you have a sort of impact or risk analysis, then you can focus on what could be done. So if you have, for example, in certain months, certain years, too many people in one spot, then you have to think about the hotspot management, and you can look around what are the best no, not what are good practice examples, because best practice is never best. I mean, you can always improve something. So what are
Right.
good practice examples that I could adapt for my specific case? Because in my opinion, in tourism, and this is also very good about the sustainability program, it's a total different shift in focus. Here it's about it's sharing is caring. You know, the more we learn from each other, the better for all of us. I only work in this field now for 3 years. Before, I always was the marketing guy, and it was the total opposite. Because in marketing, it's always about unique selling proposition. You have to come up with something that others don't have. You have to keep it as a secret. You have to be faster than the others. And this in this work, it's a total paradigm shift, and I like it a lot because here sharing is caring. If I know something and you ask me, I tell you, or I tell you, so you can improve. So that's something that I really like about working in the field of sustainable tourism. So once you figured out the problem, and in Slovenia they solved it properly, just ask them. They will tell you what they were faced with, what their problems were, so that you don't make the same mistakes as they did. You know, then it's a particular situation in your destination. So maybe you're making a new mistake because it's so particular that the others didn't have that kind of challenge. But that's how you learn, and then you can improve it much faster because you're not the first mover, because they already did it, and you can copy good things for them from them. So that's what I would do. So it's very difficult to suggest something, but of course, if there are too many people in certain periods in certain places, you have to come up with a hotspot management. It can be limited access, have people pay more, but also this has to be properly done. Because, for example, I went to Istanbul on holiday with my family, and there we were it's a lovely city. And I've been working in a hotel when I was younger in Turkey for the whole summer, etc. But they decided 2 years ago not to limit access. Maybe officially they said to limit access, but I think it's just to have a big cash cow in the tourists, because you have to pay to visit Topkapi Palace, where you can actually spend a day.
Mhm.
We spent 5 hours, 50 euros per person, no
50.
reduction for families, no reduction for children. So we paid only for one point of interest 200 euros.
Wow.
So, and then if you want to go to see the Hagia Sophia, it's 30 euros again. If you want to see something else, it's 20 euros per person again. Of course, for the locals, it's I think 1/6 of the price or so. It's a lot lower, which is good. But I as a tourist felt spoiled, I have to say, because for visiting those things, I had to pay almost as much as I had to pay for the hotel for 5 nights for 4 people.
Wow.
And that I think is very counterproductive. I think, well, I mean, they won't see me again there visiting these things. So maybe it works once, but not twice. So you also have to be very, very careful, in my opinion, about when it's up to pricing, because then I prefer going to London, where I know from the beginning that everything is expensive, especially public transport. I think it's expensive. But I found an apartment through Airbnb, which was not so expensive and it was cool, and we could commute easily. And then you go to the National Gallery and for free. You go to the National Museum of History, and they are among the most important museums in the world for free. So at the end, if I sum it up for a family for 4 people, depending on what you're eating, etc. But we are quite we're quite cost aware when we go traveling as a family. But I think I almost spent the same in London as I did in Istanbul. And everybody says Turkey is cheap, etc. Well, actually, the food was not so cheap as I remembered it. And you can go to eat fish and chips also for little money in London. The beer is expensive, but not the food. If you only drink water, then
Yeah.
you're fine. Well, of course, I didn't do that, but you know. So there you have to also be careful when it's up to limiting access through having people pay something that
Perhaps
might
the
not work.
reason is to protect cultural heritage buildings or something. In the
Yeah,
case of
maybe.
Istanbul,
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe, and I think it's cool that you have to pay if you know that this is going, then that the money is going to preserve these
yeah,
things.
to recover
Yeah,
some.
yeah, yeah, because that costs a lot of money. Okay, but now in Turkey, and it's another thing. I mean, it's a dictatorship, and you can fully
Yeah, it's
see it. You can fully see
difficult.
it. Even if you talk to your local guide, we had a guide for a whole day,
Hmm.
and yeah, I mean, just to give you an example, the Blue Mosque was always the most important, the biggest mosque built by the most famous sultan. And to show his power, this mosque has 6 minarets. The more minarets, the more power you have. Erdogan built on the other side of the city a new mosque that contains 60,000 people, 60,000. It's like San Siro, the stadium in Italy, with also 6 minarets. And he's building mosques all over Turkey. So you feel very safe,
Yeah. Hmm.
of course, because there's police everywhere. It's a dictatorship. And then I was told by this, I was told by this local, by our local guide that I mean his main competitor for the next elections was the mayor of Istanbul, who's more liberal, who he sent to prison. And this guy took the most and best lawyer to defend himself, the former mayor of Istanbul, which is also a good friend of him. So Erdogan put this lawyer in jail too. This I didn't know, to
Yes.
be honest, because otherwise I wouldn't have proposed, to be honest, to go to Istanbul. I didn't know that it was that tough because we're not going to the States because of Trump.
Yeah, yeah, I
And I
can.
used to study there. I used to study there. I tell my girls, no, we don't go to New York.
It's not the moment.
But it's not the moment. But to be honest, we made a sort of mistake because it's exactly the same with Turkey. And by the
Hmm.
way, Turkey decided, and this is something good, but I don't know if it's greenwashing or not yet, to apply the GSTC hotel standard to the Ministry of Tourism. Decided, or with the government, they decided that all the hotels in Turkey have to adapt to that. So they
Hmm.
have to have the certification. It's a strategic decision by the Turkish government for tourism to become greener. So they force
Oh,
basically
interesting.
everything to do everyone to do GSTC. GSTC. I didn't see it in our small hotel, but I heard from some people in Cappadocia, or especially bigger hotels or hotel chains, that they have the certification and they saw the label.
Hmm. They play their own strategies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, in a
No, no, but
dictatorship, it's
yeah,
difficult
but
to
for
know
yeah,
the
but
objective.
for your destination in the middle of Spain, I mean, yeah, very thorough analysis. And then also not only on, but also how maybe you can reduce your carbon footprint if you have problems like this that I don't know. And also, what was I going to say? There's all the social aspects and the socio-economical aspects that are very important. So
Yeah.
the people that live there, how many of them work in tourism? Do they work there only for certain months? Can the seasons somehow, through an intelligent product development of a touristic product, be longer so that they have a longer work there? So more security. Um, what I see where we're also focusing on heavily and which is doing getting better and better, that the local hotels and restaurants use local products, local ingredients, so that you have also a lot lower carbon footprint on those products, and you give an added value because I don't know if I have tapas. I don't know if they have tapas there, but if I have tapas only with regional products that are come from a surrounding of I don't know 20 kilometers, so make it 50, then I'm willing to pay a little bit more, but they have to be also good because only because it's local, it doesn't mean it has to be good. Because if you have a cook who can't cook, then it doesn't matter if the tomatoes are from the neighbor or if they come from Morocco. If you can't cook well and if it doesn't taste well, then you have a problem. It must be also good. The cooks have to learn how to cook certain things again. If you want to go for the concept nose to tail, where you eat basically the whole animal, then the cook has to know how to do it. Nowadays, not
Know
many
it.
cooks know it. This got lost. So we do a lot of education, or at least our HGV, the Hotel Association, has these courses for cooks to learn them how to do it again.
Yeah,
And what
I
you
see it.
and that's it. So this is really, yeah, key
It's really
also.
difficult. Yes, I think that in our case here in this place that I tell you,
Mhm.
the problem is, or one of the most important problems is that the small rural accommodators are not only see the economical benefits of tourists
Mhm.
in rural areas that are depressed is the.
Mm.
Yes,
Depressed.
they
Yeah,
have
yeah. Mm.
not industry, not other resources to get money, and they don't see that they have to cut or put on the table some strategies to protect the environment and to protect the local
Yeah, yeah.
traditions. They are not
But
seeing
this
this.
seems from these sentences that you're saying, that's why I say a thorough analysis has to be made first, that it's a quite underdeveloped area.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
in the beginning, I
Yes.
think then you should develop it to give me, for example, that I know the place, a strong reason why I have to go there and visit this place. Why should I go there? So this is the first thing. And then when I go there, you have to meet my expectations. And this could already be if you start anew, then you have to develop your touristical product already with all these sustainable aspects, in my opinion, in mind. You know, that I go
I
there
know it.
and that I go there, and the reason why is because I wanted to hike. And then you surprise me because the hiking guide is very sensible about where he's bringing me, what he's telling me, because this is a sensitive area, etc. I'm also surprised, and it's more than my expectations because I get this local food with the local ingredients that I didn't expect, etc., etc., etc. So that could be a strong point. You know, I come there for this, and I even
Yeah,
get more from the sustainable uh, point of view. But you have to do a proper storytelling. You have to tell me these things
yeah.
because if you
Mhm.
and even here where they are quite developed, you know, you get a menu with where I know that they use a lot of local ingredients, but they don't tell me. They don't tell it. They don't say it on the menu. So you have to tell me. but the ones that do it very well, they say that you get a souffle made with the tomato foam from the tomatoes from the farmer XY. That you get the beans from the farmer, blah blah blah, and then it's written over 2 lines, the description of a very simple dish. But I read it and I say, wow. And then normally this would cost, if I don't tell you, I don't know, €5, and then they sell it for 15. And this
The
is
difference.
an exaggeration now. But then I go, okay, but they've been thinking about this and that, and I read it, and then of course I don't have the proof, but I generally believe in the good of people. So I think if they're writing something, I guess it's true, but it should be true. Because if you then start doing your work properly, you invite over journalists so that you get PR. Mm. And if you have
I
some
see it.
critical journalists, and then they
Yes.
want to see they want to go to see the farmer, and they talk to the farmer for the tomatoes, and the farmer isn't even producing tomatoes but zucchini, then you have a problem. Then greenwashing starts, and then it's really counterproductive. So never do anything or never tell anything that you're actually not doing. This sounds very stupid and very simple, but it is as simple as that in marketing. You have to have a lot of common sense. Don't tell people lies, and do
Yes,
what you can
it's
do best.
important.
Do it best, and tell it people in a smart and creative way. That's basically it. You don't need artificial intelligence to tell you that, you know, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And especially in the point that finally it's a slow work of different agents, and
Hmm.
we don't can't expect solutions, great solution for everyone in a small
No,
time, and they need to patience and a good work
yeah,
and this kind
yeah. One last tip,
things.
and then I
Yes.
really have to leave you. First thing to do is a proper stakeholder analysis, and you can do it with Excel sheets, and
Perfect.
you have to think about all the stakeholders that you have, and you
Yes.
have to put them in the cross where it's high interest, low interest, high power, low power. And then you will have certain
Great.
ones that have a high interest and a high power. Start with those, because those are the ones
Perfect.
that then start the fire with the others. And even if it's a community of, I don't know, 20 hoteliers, and only 2 of them or 3 of them really engage in that, then work with them. Because then you will have results where the others then say, but why didn't you tell us? But why couldn't we part of the group? But why this and that? And then you tell them, oh, but it's working. But we were open. We asked you. You didn't want to. But now, if you want, we can do the same with you, and maybe you get the same results. You know?
Absolutely
Okay.
agree. Yeah, yeah.
So
I
now,
do it.
yeah. Now, Lara, I have
Thank
to
you.
leave you.
Yes.
I hope that this thing recorded it
Yes,
correctly. I
please.
don't know. And if I if I
Okay.
if I if I if I have it, then I will send you the file.
I will get it. I will wait it. And I am hoping to listen you again with more tranquility
Yeah,
here.
yeah, no
And
problem. And yeah, it would be great if once your
yes,
work is your paper is finished, if we could get
yeah.
like a copy, a
Well,
PDF or something.
really, yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you for
Hmm.
your help.
Yeah.
I'll do it when I
Okay.
finish in some moment.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
Hannes.
you.
And we
Bye bye,
talk
Laura. Bye bye.
in
Merry
contact.
Christmas.
Bye. Merry Christmas for you
Yeah.
too.
Bye bye.
Have a
Bye
very
bye.
good
Bye
year.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.